coverage of the departure ceremony of China. Welcome to the live streaming coverage of the departure ceremony of China's food aid to Africa. I'm CGTN reporter Lin Nan, and we are in a warehouse by the Yangtze River in Shanghai. You can see the workers are busy moving bags of rice from the warehouse to the containers. In total, 8,700 tons of rice will be shipped from Shanghai to the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, and Somalia. This effort is part of China's food assistance this year, which will also cover Republic of Congo and Lesotho. This food will be shipped by the World Food Program, the world's largest humanitarian agency fighting hunger globally. And we are pleased to have Mr. Claude Gibardi here. He is the WFP's country director in the DRC. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us in the coverage. First of all, could you briefly tell us how long have you worked for the WFP and your main role in the organization?
I have worked for WFP for the last 25 years, and currently I am the country director of the World Food Program in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And my role is to manage WFP's assistance to 5 million people in the DRC.
And we know this batch of rice will be shipped to the DRC, South Sudan, and Somalia. So how is the food insecurity or the food crisis in those countries? How bad is the situation?
The situation is bad. Just to give you the example of DRC, it is the second largest humanitarian hunger in the world after Yemen. We're talking of 13.1 million people who are totally food insecure. So it's a serious situation.
How about the children?
The children are as often the most affected. In the DRC, we are talking of 5 million children that are severely malnourished. It basically means that half of the children in the DRC are stunted, which basically means that they have not grown to their potential. These are children whose future is maybe already being jeopardized even before they have grown. That's how serious it is.
And what have caused the hunger in the country?
I would say major elements that have created this has been first the conflict. The conflict has resulted in displacement. So displacement in DRC means that people who normally plant, who normally survive on what they have planted, when they are displaced, when they are away from the fields, they cannot cultivate. And if they cannot cultivate, they don't have anything to eat. That is the problem.
So apart from the hunger in the DRC, South Sudan is also in a severe hunger, isn't it?
Obviously, if you look at the problems affecting DRC, we have the same problems affecting South Sudan, which is also the conflict. Instability. People are unable to really engage in development activities. People survive because of the conflict.
So in total, 6.87 million people in South Sudan are at risk of severe food insecurity now. And in Somalia, 5.7 million people are food insecure. So shall we just walk to the warehouse now?
Yes, of course.
So how many tons of rice are stored in this warehouse?
Here, we should be shifting about 2,200 metric tons of rice to be shifted to the DRC. That is food that should assist some 63,000 people for at least 6 months.
Okay, so this is the warehouse which stores the bags of rice. And how heavy is this bag of rice?
These are 50 kilo bags of rice, 50 kilos each.
Okay, so in total, 8,700 tons of rice will be delivered to Africa. How much rice can each person receive every day?
On average, we do calculate that a person receives about half a kilo of rice, of cereals per day. Half a kilo of cereals, then we add on that pulses and oil. So that's how we roughly calculate daily ration for individuals.
So what do those people eat in those African countries? Do they live on rice mainly?
So rice is one of the staple food, but people also live very much on maize. Maize is largely produced, and then we have other types of staples like cassava. But in addition to that, there are also quite a number of other vegetables, particularly leaves, that people make into sauce, and they eat it along with the rice, and then with fish for those who can fish, and then meat for those who obviously can access some meat.
So this donation is from China by money or by rice? I mean the real good.
This is rice that is procured in China, and that is going to be delivered there. But China has also in cash, and that cash has been used to procure some pulses. Those are beans, about some 500 tons of bean in the DRC, and about 150 tons of oil. Those were procured in the region and are also going to be distributed to the same beneficiaries with the rice.
And you've been working for the WFP for 25 years. So tell us more about the organization. What does the WFP's work in Africa and in the other part of the world to solve the food insecurity?
You know, first of all, WFP is the largest humanitarian organization. WFP is found always on the front line when people are faced with severe hunger. So you see WFP in areas where there is conflict, in areas where there is natural disaster. That is the case for the moment in Mozambique. You've probably heard about what has been happening in Mozambique. The flooding. You see WFP in major conflicts. That's Yemen, that's Syria, that's a number of other countries where we are there to help people survive. But let me tell you, the most important, we believe, in what WFP is doing and what WFP can do is not only about saving lives, but it's about managing to change the lives of the people. You know, food is the first problem that many people face when they wake up in the morning. So if they cannot address their food needs, there is nothing else that they can work on. So that's why the role of WFP to me is really crucial. It's not only about helping people eat, but it's about taking people into other steps. For instance, having children go to school. This is fundamental. But you cannot have children go to school and learn when they sit in a classroom with empty stomach. So that's why the role of WFP is so important. And that's why, for me, it's been my life for the last 25 years.
And you've been, so apart from the food program, the food assistance, the WFP is also running various programs in different countries. Like you said, the educational or vocational training or women empowerment. So how does the WFP decide what kind of program to run in different countries?
I mean, first of all, WFP always comes in support of the government. To give you an example, for instance, in the DRC, there are areas where people have been displaced, they need immediate food assistance. In most of the other places, when we are engaging in longer-term activities, it is the communities that tell us what they need, what they want. For instance, they will tell us what we want is that you, WFP, help us plant maybe larger fields by helping us with food. Some may ask that WFP supports them in rehabilitating some roads so that they can access market. So you see, the role of WFP with the food is, of course, to feed people. But beyond feeding people, the food can play much more, many other roles than just feeding people. Let me give you an example. There are places where we have conflict, like in the DRC, in Tanganyika, by the way, one of the places where this rice is going to be distributed. There is conflict between communities. The fact that WFP, with partners like FAO, other NGOs like Search for Common Ground, we come, we work together with those communities, help them cultivate. This helps in bringing about some peace and reconciliation among those communities. So you see, food is not only for eating, it's not only for getting children to school. Food also plays and can play a role in bringing communities together.
So the WFP is assisting 91 million people in 83 countries every year. And on any given day, WFP has 5,000 trucks, 20 ships, and 92 planes on the move to deliver food and any necessary assistance which are needed, isn't it?
That's correct. And let me add that one of the important things for us is that this donation from China to the people of DRC through WFP, we really hope that it's the beginning of a long-term cooperation and long-term engagement, help people not only be out of hunger, but also help people move towards development.
So what has China done, or what has China contributed in terms of the food aid in the world?
In the world, through WFP, we have been receiving a number of contributions. China, as you know, some decades back, was also working on its own development, and now China is turning around 100 million or something like that. What we hope to see is that this increases and increases significantly, so that China can become, as it is already, one of the major players in this world, can also become one of the major contributors to addressing and ending hunger in the world.
So how does China work together with the WFP? Is there any working mechanism or working system?
The way it has worked, at least for us in the DRC so far, is that WFP has been carrying out a number of assessments, determining where needs are. And this is done jointly with the government. And then either directly with the government of the country, recipient country, and the government of China. There can be discussions, or through WFP, China will then make a decision to assist that country. So it is channeled, sometimes like in this case, through WFP. We will work with the government and distribute the food to the people who need it.
So how is the WFP being funded?
We are funded on a voluntary basis. For instance, this is funding to us. It's the willingness of donor governments, the willingness of actually even individuals to provide WFP with resources so that we can help the people who are the most needed.
And how much did you raise last year? Do you have any figures?
Last year, WFP raised, I think, nearly $7 billion, something around those numbers worldwide.
Okay. And could you tell us the challenge of the WFP today? How many people are still in hunger nowadays?
Yes, the numbers are still very, very high. There are still about 800 million people who do not have sufficient food to eat. And it is true that what WFP tries to do is first to address the problems of the most needy. Those are the 90 million people that WFP targets every year directly. But what we want to do is to contribute in alleviating the hunger, the suffering of all the others. And that is why investing in communities, or investing like we are doing in smallholder farmers. Let me give the example of DRC. If we can manage to support the smallholder farmers in the DRC, plant better quality, better quantity, we can help those farmers access market. Then they are the ones who address the problem of food security in the DRC. So our work through the smallholder farmers is to tackle the hunger issue worldwide. And of course, one of our main objectives in what we're doing.
So this batch of the rice, or most of the work we mentioned earlier, is more like on the government level. So as individuals, to solve the food insecurity in the world?
I think individuals are fundamental. First of all, they are the ones that the governments do represent. But individuals, every single one of us can contribute. You know, we have a number of initiatives in WFP whereby individuals can contribute as little as possible, as little as they want, but every single person can contribute. Let me give the example of school feeding. You know, being able to provide a few dollars Chinese or everybody who can contributes a few dollars to school feeding. It means that we'll have millions and millions of children throughout the world, in Africa, but throughout the world, who can be going to school every day and not be hungry. So everybody can do something.
So apart from donating money, is there other way to make a contribution, for example, like doing some voluntary work, something like that?
Voluntary work is always possible. I would say in China, obviously, what would have an immediate in our operations, because voluntary work is to be done in those countries, and obviously we cannot have thousands of Chinese doing voluntary work. But the most important for us, and the one activity or the one action that will have immediate impact, is everybody's direct contribution to WFP.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Chibida. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was told by the WFP's officer that this batch of rice will arrive in Africa in 40 to 60 days. Although it will take a lot of effort to arrive, to people in need. And so that's the Chinese flag. To try to solve the food crisis and the food insecurity in Africa. And our coverage on the departure ceremony of China's food aid to Africa in Shanghai. And thank you for watching.